If you're a musician and want to play live music but don't know what to charge, in this video I'm going to tell you how I set my rates for playing live music. My name is Cole Biedenharn and I've been playing solo live music for over 4 years now. My experience is mainly playing solo at bars and private parties, but the ideas in this video should work for any type of live music. When you're setting your rate for live music, there are many different factors that go into what you charge. Where's the show? Who are you playing for? How much setup time you'll need? How much equipment you're bringing? How much prep time you put into it? Is this a public or a private show? Are you being tipped? Is this show going to lead to more opportunity in the future? Is the client you're working for going to be a pain in the ass? This list can be as long or short as you want it to be. Because you are the one charging your rate, you have to decide what is important to you. Once you decide what is important to you and what to charge for, you have to decide what you are worth based on those things. If you get nothing else from this video, charge what you are worth. When you're giving your clients a price, you can either give them an hourly rate or a flat fee. There are pros and cons to each, and depending on what kind of show you're playing, you might change up your pricing strategy based on where you're playing. When I first started charging for music, I would charge my clients an hourly rate and tell them how long I could play. So in the end, I was giving them a flat fee, but it still had that hourly rate attached to it. They were only getting charged for the hours of music I played, not for my own setup time or drive time. This way of charging is good because if you end up playing extra, they know how much more to pay you. It can be bad because people will try to negotiate less playing time for you, say 2 hours instead of 3. That way they don't have to pay you as much. The things they don't consider when this happens is that you still have your drive time, which you're not getting paid for. You still have setup time, which is the same for every show. And the opportunity cost of gigs that you lose out on that would be paying you full price when you take these 2-hour gigs or 1-hour gigs. After playing a decent amount of shows for an hourly rate, I decided to switch to a flat rate. The main reason for this is because people would try and get me to play 2-hour shows instead of 3-hour shows. Another benefit of charging a flat rate is you can charge basically anything you want for a show. With hourly, say you're charging $200 an hour for a $600 show. At the end of the day, you want to make $600 to play that show. Say you want to make $700, you can't divide 700 by 3 that easily. And for the client, it's easier to just see one number than to see 233.3 times 3. It's easier to just give them a flat rate of 700 and be done with it. The main con that I have found for charging a flat rate is that sometimes you will end up playing extra. And since your client doesn't have an hourly rate to go off of, either you won't get paid any extra or the extra that you do get paid isn't what your hourly rate would be. Charging what you're worth, especially starting out, can be hard, and a big reason for that is imposter syndrome. Basically, this means you feel like you aren't good enough. If you've only ever charged one rate for your shows, there's a good chance imposter syndrome will creep in if you start charging more for your shows and haven't gotten paid that amount yet. One of the biggest things to remember is that your skills are not directly related to how much money you can make playing music. You don't have to be the greatest musician to be entertaining. It's more about the crowd you bring in than how good you are at your instrument. You should still practice and want to be the best you can at your instrument, but even now at your skill level, you're better than the vast majority of most audiences you're playing for. Also, you are your own biggest critic. Make sure you're listening to what your audience likes about you and what you can improve on based on what they are saying. Don't bring yourself down too much. So don't base your worth and set your rates based on how well you think your playing is. Base it on the audience you can bring in and how much people are willing to pay you. The first shows you play, you'll probably undercharge because you don't know what you're worth and you're scared to lose gigs. This is okay starting out because you should be more worried about putting on a great show. However, you don't want to get stuck in undercharging. If you have a steady stream of leads coming in and you are getting every gig that you put a quote out for, then you are definitely undercharging. If you double your rate and only get half the gigs that you were getting originally, you're still going to make the same amount of money you were before. Now, not every gig is about making as much money as possible, but you can only play so many gigs in a year, and generally, higher paying gigs have better opportunities and lead to more opportunities in the future. The best way to build confidence in charging a new higher rate is to get a gig and get paid that much money. If you put out multiple quotes for shows, for gigs you've gotten in the past, but don't get any back, then that's probably too high of a rate. If you end up getting at least half, then it's probably a reasonable rate. Raising your rates this way only works if you have a steady stream of leads coming in, whether that's through social media, word of mouth, your website, or any other method. For me, when I was still figuring out what to charge myself and trying to raise my rates slowly, I kept a steady rate until I would get tipped extra on my base pay from the client. So if I was charging $300 and got paid $400 from the client, I would then slowly raise my rate to $400 for the next show. I probably could have been charging more early on and made more money, but this slow increase in rate built my confidence over time to where my rate is now. You should charge as much as you're confident charging and never charge too little. After trial and error and playing enough shows, you'll find out what you are worth and what you want to be paid versus what the market was willing to pay you. If you can find the balance between those two things, then you should be confident that you are charging the right amount for your music. Step 1 for setting your rate is doing your research. Find out what other artists in your area charge, find out what other venues pay, and then decide between those two things what you want to start out charging. Step 2 is to start playing shows and track your income. Track your base pay, track tips from the venue on top of your base pay, and track the tips from your audience. If you're getting tipped from the venue, you're definitely charging too little if they're willing to pay you more. This also goes for private shows and clients. If you're charging $500 and they pay you $600, then you're probably charging too little. Your tips from the audience are also a very good indicator on how well you're doing. If you are making a lot of tips from the audience, this shows that they're well engaged and they're willing to stay to hear you play longer, which means they buy more drinks and spend more money at the venue, who's also paying you. So it's a win-win for both you and the venue. They can pay you more and you make more from tips and from them. Step 3 is to raise your rates. Once you've considered all the factors we've talked about in this video, you can raise your rate and you stick with that rate until you get paid it or don't get paid it, and you can adjust your rates accordingly. Stick with the same rate for every person, that way you can track whether it's working or not. When dealing with repeat clients, generally I don't raise my rates unless it's been a long time since dealing with them, or if the rate they're paying is far off from the rate I'm charging nowadays. You can do whatever you're comfortable with. There are no rules in business. Just remember to have fun with it and be honest. You're not a used car salesman. You're selling your skills and your reputation. Thank you for watching. I hope this video helped you determine what you want to charge for your live music. Leave a like and subscribe, and comment if you want me to go more into depth on any other topic in this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.